There it is, and pjnet.tv is on the air, 9 p.m. Eastern time. If that's about the time it is where you're at, you're watching this live. You might be watching it recorded. We're running the bumper, and you know what? We have a first-time guest waiting to come on the air. We have a chat room waiting to hear and see our first-time guest. We are recording, and we are streaming to so many places I can't count them, but everything's in sync. We'll count down to Studio 11 starting about now. Well, good evening. Welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm your host, Coach I have green stuff growing in my armpit. I will adjust that as we proceed once I turn things over to our first-time guest who is here. You are in for a good time tonight. And Mary Felkin is here with us, and I've been enjoying just having a conversation with her, but why keep that to myself when we can, in fact, put her on the big screen here at the Eagle's Nest? There she is, Mary Felkins. Felkin, S, is there
with an S at the
plural.
end.
It's plural then.
It is. Yeah,
What's the plural of octopus?
There's only one of me, but there's an S at the end of my last name.
I see. Now, behind you, I see this thing. It says Call to Love. What is that? Are you running some kind of... What is that?
A hotline.
It's obviously important because it's huge. It's so visible. What is that?
That is what I created for my book launch in November of 2019, courtesy of Hobby Lobby. So it's the title of my book. So I had that as part of the table for the book's signing table. And it just looks cool on the bookshelf, honestly.
Well, and that's a real background. That's the actual.
Yeah.
It's not fake. It's not a green screen. No tricks. And I think you are friends with Emily Wickham. Is that correct?
I am.
She's in our chat room. So
hey, Emily.
Be careful what you say. You have people paying attention who will be criticizing you tomorrow or tonight. No, it won't take that long. It's okay, Mary, when people approach you, when we start these conversations, they say, well, what do you do? So what do you tell them?
I tell them I write. And specifically, I write inspirational romance. And I came up with that because people would ask me that question. And I thought, what do I do? Not who am I? I know who I am in Christ, but how that looks to the world is that I write. And specifically inspirational romance.
Right, and if you just say romance,
passion,
that marshals up images that might not be consistent with Christianity at all,
Well, yeah, and I will specify the reason why I don't say I'm a Christian author, sadly, and I think you can identify with this, is because when you say Christian, it automatically, people have preconceived ideas that what you write in this particular industry of writing, that what you write is very legalistic, or it's gospel heavy or preachy, or that maybe in the fiction that I wrote, it could be that it's too watered down, it's too sugary sweet, and so it's neither of those. But inspirational really is code for Christian. And then romance simply means that the hero and heroine end up together at the end, which, if you've read scripture, that's the best romance ever. You have the hero, you have the heroine, and you have an incredible happily ever after, just with a lot of hard junk in the middle, which that's part of writing. You have to have hard things. So that's really why I
no
market
struggle,
it that
no
way.
Story,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not a writer, Mary, but I talk to many, and
Yes.
I'm learning. I keep hearing the same things over and over, and I begin to think, well, maybe there's something to that.
Well, would you read a story of any kind where they sat and they had coffee together, and he said, I love you, and she said, I love you, let's get married, and that's it. There's no tension. So yeah,
I get it.
That's hard.
I'm going to put your name on the screen, folks. She has asked that I put the name Mary A. Felkins up here. Now, I know a lot of authors sometimes use that and as kind of a pen name type thing, but the A in your case is more than just to distinguish you from all the other legions of Mary Felkins that there are out there.
Are there other Yeah, well, that's interesting. I think there might be one other Mary Felkins. I haven't looked that up, but the A is my obviously my maiden name, Albers, and it's just in honor of my dad. He's 94, lives in Houston. I grew up in Houston, Texas, and I just really love my family. I'm the youngest of six, so I have five older siblings, and it just reminds me of my upbringing. So some of us have wonderful upbringings and families that we love, and some of us don't. And I happen to really love that association. So just a way to honor him.
Okay.
So it's kind
Now,
of also symmetrical. It's a visual thing.
oh, okay. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, I sign
Yeah.
my name with my middle initial, but I don't
Do you?
use it. I mean,
Okay.
it's I don't know. It just looks good. It makes it literally is
Yep.
because it's MW. You'd have to see my signature.
Absolutely.
It's very
Absolutely.
classy. It's very
Cool.
just. It's way cool. Way cool.
Okay. Absolutely. If it's
Here,
associated
send
with
me a
you,
check and I'll
it's
endorse
cool.
the back of it, and you can see my signature.
Right. You like it that much? I'll be happy to give you
If you
a
like,
signature.
let me find out how much you like my signature.
Right.
You're from Texas, a
I
Texas girl,
am.
but
I
you weren't a
am.
cheerleader.
No,
But
I was
Friday Night
not.
Lights were still the thing,
Absolutely. Oh,
always.
football's huge, huge in Texas. So I was on the drill team. So we cheered, you were asking about that, but we cheered from the stands. We just had to sit still until it was time for halftime. And then we stole the show. Once you get in, being tall, you can't see, but I'm 5'9". And so I got to
And
be
that
like
is
right near the
considered
50
tall
yard line. It is. It is. It
in
is for me.
Texas.
It is. Well, actually, I guess maybe I would be very short in Texas, wouldn't I?
I
But
think 5'9" is pretty average.
okay.
If anything, on the low side.
Well, it helps when I'm at the grocery store and there's an elderly person that can't reach the cereal at the top of the shelf. I mean, that's such a joy. I'm like, I would be happy to reach that for you. So it
Okay.
has some ministry benefits.
Well, but you just
So,
uncorked something because I know that you would never assist somebody in reaching for those items up at eye level and above because that's poison. The good stuff is usually down. You got to get on your hands and knees, and you know these things because after you were on the drill team, and before you were an inspirational author or whatever, you were a
registered and licensed dietitian. So I worked as in a hospital for several years, and then I had a private practice, Cornerstone Nutrition Counseling. And there are four kids in there as well. So not to overlook that, but I did work professionally before that and continued through that, not full time. I, committed to raising them, but yes, I did work. And then I have a master's degree in nutrition. And you didn't ask why, but I'll tell you, I love food. I love to talk about food. And
well, the
so,
more the better,
yeah,
That,
yeah, I mean, yeah. So there was a whole lot of writing that I was doing, even in that profession, though it just kind of kept coming up. I wrote nutrition programs, weight management programs. So it was just knocking on the inside, you
okay,
would
so
say.
let's have. Well, yeah, you're punching my buttons now. You see.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I was a personal trainer, and
Okay. Yeah,
I lost 95 pounds in 90 days.
you did. That's
Yes, I
fantastic.
was seriously overweight. My
Okay,
blood, anyway.
95 and 90 days.
That's roughly a pound a day, which, as you know,
Yeah,
that's not a good idea. But I only do things to excess, and in our short
that's
time
right.
together, you have already figured that out. And I learned something that I think is a principle that still applies because so often in the Christian world, we have emphasis on teaching and learning, and those things are important. I know that. But when this comes up and I'm in the room, when they get done with all that, I say, I think the fat person knows they're fat. I don't think knowledge is the problem. What do you think?
I would go with that. Well, a lot of times people will blame, sadly, themselves. They'll try these extremes, and if it doesn't work, they point the finger at themselves. And sometimes it's just the program is set up to fail. I mean, it's you postponing the inevitable. I have a theory. This is free. It won't cost you a cent, but that all foods fit. So you touch my peanut M&Ms, and we're going to have a conversation. So that's not
You'll pull back a
healthy.
bloody nub as you reach for
Yeah.
mine.
So I just think there's where your relationship with God comes in, where you have a conversation. Okay, Mark, is that, a little bit too much coffee? Or Mary, is that too many? So if you withhold a toy from a kid, they want that one thing. And I just think
Uh,
that's our nature. So if I say I'm free to eat whatever I want, unless you have a allergic reaction to strawberries, please don't eat strawberries.
yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's very freeing to not have a list of, you can't have this, you can have these things. Well, guess what I want? What did Eve
Mm-hmm.
want when she couldn't have the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? The one thing she couldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think we need to be careful with that. Oh, I just can't ever have any of this. If you're happy with that and it's working and that works all through your life, wonderful. But for me, it's created problems.
Well,
So,
Mary, I have in my own journey in weight management and personal training and things like that, I never denied myself pizza. Never. Okay?
good, good.
Here's what I would say. You can have pizza Sunday.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's
I would never
fantastic.
say no to myself. I would say, you can do that if you meet your goals,
Right, right.
if
Absolutely.
and most of the time, honestly, by the time Sunday came around, I would eat
Right.
chocolate cake instead.
Well, that's good.
But you,
Instead
you
of
see the
those,
principle. Don't say no.
no, I do.
Yeah.
I do, because then it can become less appealing because you're thinking, well, maybe pizza's not that big a deal. Or the whole pizza, maybe I'll just stop at 3 slices. I mean, that's up to you. But yeah, that really works.
Well, it depends
It's
on
worked
how they
really well
cut
for
the
me.
pizza. If you-
Yeah. I tell you, when Monday night was pizza night for my kids for a long time because Mama's tired, Mama doesn't want to cook, and Domino's had, or no, Papa John's. It was Papa John's in town, and they had $6, $7 pizza, and it was only pepperoni. But I would ask them to double cut it, so what is it?
Right.
8 slices became 16. And yes, I know I'm not great at math, but I know that's the same quantity. And I'm telling you, it worked for my kids.
Mhm.
They would have leftover, but if it were the other way, they would eat like half of it and leave it. And it was very frustrating. So
Well,
try the double cut thing.
our generation did not come up in the Depression, but my father did. And my father and I had a great relationship, and we were talking one time, and I said, well, gosh, during the Depression, I mean, you struggled to eat, right? He said, absolutely not. We always had plenty. I said, really? How so? He said, when I asked for seconds, my parents told me, nope, you had plenty.
And he had a good attitude. He probably had to learn that attitude of grace. I guess I've had plenty then.
Simple rule, and I'm not allowed to talk. When I was certified as a personal trainer, we were not allowed to talk about nutrition, but I would say
Right.
general principles. Okay, and honestly, what I said earlier was a little bit over the top. I think a lot of people do eat badly out of ignorance. I do. I think that it's that they just don't read, they don't know. But here's a general rule. Let me bounce this one off of you. Okay, you're about to eat something. Take a look at it. Does this look like God made it? If God made it, it's probably okay, at least in moderation. But if you look at things that are clearly processed, God
Yes.
didn't make Vienna sausage. I don't know what's in there. He made what's in there.
Yeah. Or we take all the elements that he did make and we crush it together and process it together to come up with something and
Yeah,
wrap
throw
it
a
up.
little
Yeah,
coconut
I
oil
used,
in there with it, a little fat, a little sugar.
yeah, I used to have a program called To Market with Mary, and when I was in Hickory, this is before I had my 4th child. I lost count, but my 4th child, and it was really using the grocery store. You do this
You
happens.
lost count of your children.
Yes, I
Is
number
everybody in the
them.
car? I don't know. It's 4 enough.
But just to use the grocery store for a classroom, because sitting in an office across the table with plastic food models only goes so far. And I just thought, how about we just take this to Harris Teeter? Got permission to use the aisles and show people nothing about the grocery store, but the product. This is what it means when it says light or whole wheat bread. Really, that's just an
That's just
orange
bread.
colored plastic that
Right.
makes you think it's better for
Right.
you. So
It's
be
not whole
warned.
grain.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's so much and I'm going to call it deception. Whole wheat. Well, no, that's not whole grain. There's
Right.
a difference. Okay.
Yeah.
If it says sugar free and it tastes good, it's loaded with fat. If it says fat free and it tastes good, it's loaded with sugar. Promise.
Possibly. Often, yes.
You know,
Just be
I did
informed.
learn I was using the South Beach diet when I was losing all that weight. And I found out an interesting trick because if you ever run out of white bread, there's a solution. All you need is a piece of paper. Okay? And you fold the piece of paper once, and you fold it again, making a convenient envelope to pour in a tablespoon of sugar. And then you eat the sugar in the paper because that is pretty much nutritionally the equivalent of a slice of white bread.
There you go. There you go. It's interesting when you can actually see it measured or how many teaspoons of sugar in one can of soda or what does actually an ounce of fat look like. It's very eye-opening when you show people
Yeah.
what that is.
Look at that when it's cooked, like, barbecue ribs and all that. It looks really good. Wait till it's in the refrigerator and congeals. Okay.
Yeah.
And you see all that
Right.
fat. Well, that's what happens in your bloodstream.
Yes, very costly. Yes, it is. Absolutely.
What's the main mistake people made when you were advising people nutritionally? What was the biggest problem you dealt with out there?
Let me think. Probably denial. Sometimes it was hard when I was in a clinical setting and Johnny Joe was the patient that the doctor wanted the nutritionist or the dietitian to talk to, and it's the wife that's usually elbowing him. So if they're not in a place, that's why I started a private practice, because I wanted somebody to choose to come to me. They were ready to make a change. So you really have to be in that place. And sometimes it's not enough motivation to say, don't you want the scale to read lower? You want to say, do you want to be around to walk your daughter down the aisle? Really appeal to their emotions and things that matter to them. So I just think just being unaware or just too much information or going to wrong sources. We were taught as a registered dietitian, like you say, you weren't supposed to talk about nutrition. You're right. I'm supposed to do that, and I'm not supposed to be doing what you were doing. Let's stay in our lane. So we were considered the nutrition experts. So I think that sometimes people would just come with a whole head full of information from people that got a certificate online and are nutritionists, and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
So they just are confused, or just if they've dieted themselves to the point of overweight. And I'm just trying to offer freedom. Food is not going away. You can't, it's like we can say, please stop smoking cigarettes, but I can't say, would you just please stop eating? That doesn't work.
All right.
Be easier, but
All right. We're at the 2-minute mark. 2-minute warning. I am going to bring on your book, What the Morning Brings. 52. What an odd number. Inspirational. Tell us about your book, Mary.
it brings coffee. It's one thing it brings, right?
Move your head over the other. There you go.
way.
There you go.
How about that?
There you go.
Okay.
Now we can see you and the book.
How about that? That works.
All right. Share about the book for a minute.
So What the Morning Brings is inspired. That is a compilation of 52 of my devotions that I write on my blog, maryfelkins.com. And I started the blog before I ever had my first published fiction book to have something to write, to have content. And I was actually writing devotions and didn't know it until somebody pointed out and said, this is actually a devotion. And I had some women who were faithful followers who strongly encouraged me to put them together and publish it. So 52 as opposed to the standard 30 or what else, 365. You read one. When I read a devotion, if I don't remember the next day, the content, I can't tell you what the takeaway was, then I keep reading it until I do. So I thought this is the idea inspired by this Psalm 143 verse 8, let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I've put my trust in you. That's the key verse. But that you read the same devotion every day for a week, and then over the course of the year, you've gone through the whole thing. Some people may read it in a day. Some people, there's no rule to it at all, but that's
Right.
really where it's different. How about that?
Okay. And you mentioned your website. I'll put it on the screen, maryfelkins.com. That's Felkins plural, and there is no A
Yes.
in the middle.
And there's
Okay.
just one of me.
And there's only one. There is one and only one. Thank God, for
No
that.
kidding. It's what my husband would say, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, we've had a lot of fun, Mary, and I hope some people gain something out of the fun we've had, because I would love to
I've
just
had
continue. And folks, you can go to pjnet.tv and join the chat room there, where there's a bunch of friends waiting to welcome you and be your friend and say nice things about you too.
All
And
right.
but Mary, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing tonight. And
Absolutely.
we'll have to do this again sometime. What the heck?
I would love that. We have to check in and make sure you're still taking good care of your health. You got me concerned. All that coffee every day.
I figure if you can't thread the needle of a running sewing
That's right.
machine, you haven't had enough.
That's
So
right.
we're good.
No, we're all good with that. So
All right,
it was an
we're good.
honor. Thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Thanks, Mary. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank
What a
you.
fun guest, Mary A. Felkins. And there you see, folks, the view high atop the Eagle's Nest, the broadcast facility. Oh, there's my hairbrush. This is a plywood desk on
This is
sawhorses. Yeah, this is absolutely how it happens. For now,
Fantastic.
folks, the fun is only beginning. I promise you that. And what I'm going to do is kind of get pulled back here so we can see. Hey, time to, in just a few moments, Casper from Colorado will be here, as he is every Monday night. And we missed him last Monday. My fault. We'll get on that. Before I leave, okay, I've got some work to do by the bottom of the hour. But before I leave, I have two very important and serious questions to ask you, to ask yourself. Here's the first one. What is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And if you are able to answer that and impress yourself, let's move on to question number 2. How long ago was that? I hope none of us will be satisfied with either answer.